Hi, I'm going to say something that I wasn't planning on saying because of the topic of American exceptionalism. And the thing we have to understand, the United States has done well despite having a senile old fool followed by a lunatic. So, you know, I mean, somehow we met, mainly because the United States' strengths are inherent. It's not from the top, but more from the bottom. And anyway, Bismarck said, by the way, I was born in Heidelberg, and my father was in the U.S. Army. So I figured it would be appropriate. Unfortunately, I can't say it in German, but Bismarck said, "A providence that protects idiots, drunkards, children, and the United States of America." And I think it's sort of amazing that we're able to do as well as we do. And again, a lot of it is, as the speakers have said, because we're actually, we're competing with people who are doing worse than we are. So here's some basic numbers here. Interesting enough, 10 years ago, if I had done this, I would not have been able to have anything remotely like this. So over the last 10 years, you can see the U.S. and Canada are, the largest part of the world economy. The other big player is China. You have to understand some of the, the psychosis in Washington. Some of it has to do with the fact that China is the first significant competitor we've had, really since the Second World War. Russia was a defense competitor, wasn't an economic competitor. As you can see, China, the EU, the rest of Asia, you can see where the growth is. So we've maintained being the most important economy in the world. And sort of amazing when you go back and you can read books that were predicting the EU was going to be dominant, or China's going to be dominant, or Japan's going to be dominant. Somehow, Bismarck was right. Economic growth obviously has been stronger. Will this continue? We may have somewhat of a retrenchment. It's really hard to say. The European media in particular, and a lot of the corporate elite, doesn't relate to what's going on in the vast majority of the United States. The vast majority of the United States is increasingly in red states. It's increasingly more, somewhat more conservative, and that's where almost all the growth is taking place. And let's face it, most European people are pretty sophisticated. They like going to New York and Boston and San Francisco, unless they want to be, particularly if they want to get yelled at by crazy people. But the reality is the US has been growing faster. This is really interesting in that I think one of the biggest challenges